And we are live. Greg, did you see that message?
Oh, the what message?
There was a message that popped up when I clicked live that said we're like recording too frequently, and I had to wait 30 seconds, and then it just pushed us live.
I didn't see that. That is very bizarre.
I blame Aton.
Yeah.
Nobody else is going to get that but you and me, but it's fine. What's going on, everybody? NBA Live before lock. We got 26 minutes until tip-off of Golden State and Minnesota. I'm Josh Engleman. That's Greg Ehrenberg. We got to break this bad boy down. Sans Steph Curry. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. What are you liking here, Greg? I assume we're on the same page that we just think Minnesota handles business.
Most likely, although there certainly have been numerous big favorites that have failed, and no lead is safe. No lead is safe. I couldn't even turn off there was no point where, I mean, at a certain point, it was safe to turn off OKC Denver. But there's a part of me too. It's like, I can't call this a wrap and just go to bed. There's been too many ridiculous comebacks and odd things that have happened. I mean, you get the Cavs, they're up 7 with the ball with 40 seconds left and lose the game. The Celtics are up 20 against the Knicks. They end up losing the game. Knicks looked all kinds of dead in that spot. Twice. So, I mean, you can't write off any team. And another thing too is, this is going to be a super slow pace, super slow paced game. And that opens itself up to a little bit of extra variance when there aren't that many possessions. It's not exactly an apples to apples comparison, but I remember in college, I did a stats class, and one of my thesis papers was on what makes it most likely for there to be an NCAA tournament upset. And the two things I found were slow pace, because it's just smaller sample size, less possessions in the game. The other one is 3-point shooting. Teams that shoot a lot of threes are more likely to potentially have an upset. So this is going to be a very slow-paced game.
Yes, it is. And we don't really know what anybody's going to be doing on Golden State, save for basically Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. And obviously Draymond Green's the ticking time bomb, especially with Steph out. I think he's going to be like extra ornery once it stops looking good. Like in the beginning, he's going to be focused because it's going to be like, all right, if I'm gone, we're fucked. And then if they're down like 12 and he gets fouled and nobody calls it, he's going to blow his top. I can't wait. You mentioned the Denver one. That's how I felt. I tweeted out at halftime. I was like, Denver's setting up a real good hold my beer moment here. They come back from 30 something down. I really thought OKC was going to score more points than the Knicks did in the whole game. 87 in the first half, 4 points short of the Knicks.
That game was a blowout of all blowouts.
You see this? Pajamski healed Butler Green post.
All right. Well, it doesn't even matter. I just uploaded my lineups, which doesn't matter at all. I didn't know what the Warriors were going to do with their starting lineup. This doesn't even mean this is going to be the starting lineup to begin the second half, but this goes to what we were just talking about. It makes sense, right? I know that people hate Steve Kerr's rotations. I promise you guys, it's not because Steve Kerr is a moron. It's because he has a lot of interchangeable players that he just plays the ones that are playing best. In a lineup like this, it makes sense because we were just talking about, like, how do you upset a team when you're a really big underdog? 3-point shooting. And you just throw a post out there who's their best big man 3-point shooter, get more floor spacing on the court. Yeah.
The problem in this scenario is that they can put Gobert on Draymond and guard post with Julius Randle. And I'm not sure that's going to go the way they want it to. I think they'll find out pretty quickly that post isn't the answer unless the threes fall. But look, Steve Kerr doesn't have a lot of options. Oddly enough, when you take Steph Curry off the floor and you replace him with somebody else, that person sucks usually. So here we are.
Yeah. I mean, and if post struggles, then it's going to be like, hey, we'll try Peyton. We'll try the Kuminga lineup. They are going to try a lot of different lineups. And what's going to happen that's really going to upset people is the rotations in game 3 are not going to be the same rotations in game 2. And everybody's going to play, whoever plays well today, people are going to play them the next game.
Man, if Draymond didn't separate Jordan Poole from his soul, Jordan Poole, we might be rostering like 90% of Jordan Poole today.
Yeah, although I might side with Draymond in that one.
I'm okay with it.
You know what's pretty telling about Draymond knocking out Jordan Poole? The players didn't seem all that upset about it.
No, and like they probably could have easily done that. Like they could have They wouldn't have needed much ammo to finally just be like, hey, Dre, you've reached the end of the line on being a piece of shit. Everybody kind of just didn't give a shit. So
No,
whatever he did, it seemed like it was for the team.
They did not care at all. We just got a projections update, by the way. So Quinton Post, we ended up putting in for 18 minutes. He's only 2K. So what did we have him in for before? I think we had him in for like 10 minutes or something like that. So it just goes to show how strong of an option Quinton Post is. We put him in for 18 minutes. That has him in nearly 15 fantasy points at 2K. Like, he projects really well on a points per dollar basis. He's a really strong option. It's hard to suck as a starter at a $2,000 salary.
Yeah, I got it up on the screen now with the updated projections. 2K, our highest value play, our second best point per dollar play behind Pat Spencer at 1,200. Let's hit Minnesota quickly so we can just get that out of the way, because I don't really think there's much to say. They play 8 guys. They play the same guys all the time. They don't really deviate. The only thing that makes it deviate is foul trouble, and all of these guys are like interchangeable parts. So that guy gets foul trouble, and it's just like, okay, well, I guess Nickeil Alexander-Walker plays 6 more minutes. They do dust off Terrence Shannon every once in a while for like minimal stuff. I do think he'd be the guy I'd want to get from Minnesota, that like if you were trying to get to blowout run stuff for today. But I mean, Minnesota is as cut and dry to me as it gets. I really don't care who I get. Obviously, Ant looks awesome because he has the highest ceiling here, but I don't have a single question mark about Minnesota thinking like, oh, I'm going to pick this guy and he's not going to play. Like, they just don't do that. So I'm not nervous. It's the Golden State side that makes everybody the money today.
The only thing that's changed from the Minnesota side to me is that now that Post is starting, it becomes more of a stars and scrub slate. Like, it already it tends to be that way a lot for some of these showdown slates, but it is going to be so hard to build lineups that don't have Jimmy Butler and Anthony Edwards now.
This is also now likely, we can't say for sure, but like this is obviously a much bigger series for Rudy Gobert now that Steph Curry isn't running around like a crazy person for the Warriors. He can be out there a lot easier. They don't have enough shooting to play him off. Defensively, it's going to be fine. He's not running into anybody that's that good of a creator that he can't be out there. He's still good as an isolation defender, no matter what anybody wants to say about it. But there's nobody left out here that he's going to have any trouble with whatsoever. So I'd be surprised if we don't get big Rudy Gobert games when Steph's not around, but it might just not matter either. I don't know if they're going to even need him to do what he needs to do. Regular defense might just be enough against this Golden State team.
Yeah, and Gobert, at least in the first game, it was kind of a split between him and Naz Reid. They both played fairly decently. It did look like, based on the early part of the game, that it was shaping up to be a little bit more of a Naz Reid series than a Rudy Gobert series. But now that Steph's out, it kind of changes the equation. That's the only part of the Timberwolves that I'm not really sure of going forward, is what the minutes for Gobert and Naz Reid look like. It's not going to be like too far away from what we're expecting, but it could tilt like a couple minutes to one guy, go away, go to the other guy. And that would make a little bit of a difference. I do tend to think that with it being Post starting, that probably lends itself a little bit better towards Naz Reid, but who knows? Gobert could just absolutely obliterate them like he did to the Lakers. And then it's like, hey, Dorian Finney-Smith guard. It was Luka and Dorian Finney-Smith regarding Gobert. And even though Gobert is far from a lethal offensive player, that was not enough to slow him down. And it was like him playing against fifth graders. So maybe something like that ends up happening again.
Wouldn't be surprised. What do you like from Minnesota? Like, do you have your eye on anybody for this series? Not necessarily like this is what I'm getting to or anything, but like, do you just have personal thoughts on Wolves?
So I want to rerun my lineups just to see what the outlook is for like this particular slate. But from what you had asked me, one thing that, I kind of already said it, but Naz Reid, especially considering that he isn't pulling that much ownership and he's in the mid-range, he looks like somebody who, before the update, was somebody I was going to be getting a pretty good amount of. We had him project for 29% ownership in the flex spot. He was in 45% of my lineups before this update. So I presume I'm still going to be pretty heavily overweight to Naz Reid.
Okay. I didn't have much of a lean. All of my stands were the rando Warriors dudes. Spencer, Looney, Post before this, but like I don't have a damn clue what this is going to look like right now. I just finished it up. I'm going to set up my filters and favorite my lineups and stuff. But do you assume you need to get more weird today now because of post?
What do we have his projected ownership at? I think that's relevant.
23% at the utility on DraftKings and 14 on the utility on FanDuel, where he's 1,400.
He seems pretty underowned to me.
I agree because of the role that we just got. I don't think he's going to play well if I'm thinking about this the way that I think the game goes. But in terms of just like now knowing that he's starting, a 2K starter at 23% owned, given that value, I'm pretty shocked it's as low as it is.
I think also, I mean, that starting lineup came out like 20 minutes before the game started, like 22 minutes before. So it's kind of late notice as well. People like to consume their content either in the morning, like if they just watch your strategy show and aren't updating later, if they're reading an article or whatever. Some people might miss that post was starting. But yeah, based on our first update, I do think he looks pretty underowned. But I'll see when I update lineups here what I end up getting. I think he's the best value play on the slate.
Rich, I don't know if you're in chat right now. Are you planning to run it again, just out of curiosity?
I don't.
And if you're not, thank you. Thank you. Just curious. Just curious if you're here. All right, I just set up my filters. I have my lineups done. Let's take that. Let's get rid of those dupes. I'm very nervous to see this. I'm going to assume I have a shit ton of posts. All right, here we go. Yeah, shit ton of. He's my highest exposed guy.
I haven't
which also makes me think that it
yet, but I'm going to
rerun this.
I feel pretty good. That's going to be the case for me.
Are you going to rerun and boost him? Because I think I'm going to rerun and boost him in the generator. Because I think he's going to be a little bit more owned than this. Because I have 44% positive leverage right now, and he's a 23% positive ROI. I think that's just an indication that I need like 4 more percentage points of ownership on this dude.
Maybe. It's hard to say because it's only like a 1-game slate. But while I don't play a ton of Showdown, it does tend to be softer fields. Maybe it makes a difference because this is the only game people have to choose from. We'll see. If Rich reruns it and it says something really different, then I'll be like, okay, this is just, way different. But I don't know that he's going to be like 40% on like he should be.
No, like I'm going to get him. Well, I had it at like 21 when I ran it. And I'm going to give him like 1 up arrow or 2 up arrows. See if I can get it to like 24 or 25 and just soften that a little bit. Let's see what 2 does. I just want to bump it up a little bit because that leverage and that sim ROI to me was a little bit higher than I wanted to for just driving forward with it. Because I do think he comes in a couple spots higher than that. And if that takes my 65 of post to 55, I think I'm going to be a little bit more comfortable with that. If he's actually 20% owned, I'm going to be really pissed, and I'm going to wish I had all of it.
He's more likely to be above that number than below it. I would be really surprised if he's under that number. So from that standpoint, it maybe makes a little bit of sense to boost him, but I'm just going to run everything as is. And if we get an update that says otherwise, I'll update. If not, I'm going to roll with what we got.
Well, then let me just hit everybody with this one. Right now, if you guys want a 7-day free trial for the Portfolio EV tool, it's very simple. Click the link in the description of this video. If you've never signed up at OddsShopper before, it's a 7-day free trial. You pay us nothing. If you find out that you hate it after 6 days, you can cancel. You'll never pay us a cent. You're out. I don't think that's going to happen. You can take a market-based approach to beating the books. Expected value, odds boost calculators, parlay builders, mass entry, mobile bets. You get pop-ups on your phone telling you exactly what you want. Dig through our portfolio data. Everything we've ever recommended. You can build a portfolio off of it. Get the alerts specifically for that portfolio, and you can build as many as you want. So 7-day free trial. The link is in the description. And I hope that maybe you guys just use the 50% off code that I gave out on the strategy show this morning for the Celtics. Down bad, man. Down bad. I laughed for a good 5 minutes when that image generated, and that silly leprechaun was just sitting there with like a shillelagh in a puddle.
If the Knicks sweep the Celtics, you got to rerun that back, but with you on the graphic down bad.
Dude, if the Knicks sweep the Celtics, I'm not sure we're going to be able to put content on YouTube without it just being inundated with people talking mad shit to me.
That's the way it should be. It's the way it should be.
Hey, look, I said it yesterday, or I said it today on the strategy show, and I'll say it again here. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. The moment that game ended, I bet the Celtics in the series, the East, the finals. I did bet them to lose to the Thunder in the finals, but like, I took the lines I could get at this point.
Yeah. Hey, if that's what you believe, that's what you believe. Like, I don't think it's I don't think it's like a ridiculous stand to take to say you think the Celtics come back and win the series. I think it's a little ridiculous to say that the Knicks have a 0% chance to win. But
what did I tell you yesterday? That's not what I said.
You've updated it to a 1% chance of the Knicks to win.
There you go. Don't be making it seem like I'm saying things I'm not. I told you very specifically I bumped it to 1.
You did say 0% before that, though.
Sure did. Look, I adjusted. I adjusted my priors. I did what I needed to do. Do you have your sim done?
Yeah, I've got everything done.
Who is it? Who's the main event of the evening? Other than Quinn Post, I guess.
Yeah, I've just got a shit ton of posts. A little bit of them in the captain spot, but nothing crazy. I've got 6% of them in the captain. That allows me to, spend up for a bunch of studs in those lineups. We got them projected for 1% captain ownership, but not like a primary option for me or anything like that as a captain. The guys who I get the most of, it's Anthony Edwards and Jimmy Butler, as to be expected. Contrarian option I actually do think makes sense in the captain spot, though. Julius Randle. We got Randle projected for 8% captain ownership. If you're trying to find out which player in this game has the most upside for the least amount of ownership in the multiplier spot, like, I don't know how you can make a case for it being anybody other than Julius Randle. Randle is inconsistent, especially in the playoffs. Like, we've seen him run the gamut of terrible postseason games, great postseason games, especially lately. He's had some really good ones. And also, he's a good fantasy producer across the board, points, rebounds, assists. So I think Julius Randle is somebody who's pretty easy to get overweight to the field to and differentiate a lineup in the captain spot.
Well, I'll let you know what I got. I have the FanDuel ownership up on the screen right now if anybody wants it. Then we get a lot of FanDuel questions. Captain spot? Ooh, wow. I don't have the stands that I had earlier today. It's a lot of Ant. It's a lot of Jimmy Butler, both mostly right around the field. The next guy that I have up there, though, is Julius Randle. I have 15% at the captain, projected for 9 right now. And then I just have scattered pods, Green, Healed, Gobert. Glad I had those scattered ones, a week and a half or 2 weeks ago when it ended up being Steven Adams. That helped. So I don't have any post in the captain spot. I do have 63% of them in the flex.
Okay. Yeah, and like I said, it's not a lot. It's just a few lineups with him there. And partially it's because of at least he's projected for 1% ownership in the captain spot. It gives you a different lineup where you could spend up for other guys. Not necessarily like my favorite lineup or anything like that. But it's funny, like Captain Akella asked in Discord, Randle captain for single entry. Yeah, like Randle is my favorite contrarian captain spot. Touched on that before he asked that question, before I went over that. But I think that's the most reasonable way to differentiate a lineup.
Dude, it's wild. He's nowhere near the top of my sim ROI lineups, but he's my third most exposed captain. Like, if I pull up the favorites sheet and start scrolling down, he's not on the first page of it.
Yeah,
like
actually,
all
so
at bottom for me.
I'm overweight to all 3 of the spend up options: Butler, Edwards, Randle. It's so easy to fit them in lineups, especially because I've got Quentin Post in across the flex and the captain spot. I've got about 90% of Quentin Post, so he's pretty clearly the guy who's just like a staple for me. And then building from there. I do have one guy that I'm considering boosting right here before lock that I think is a pretty interesting contrarian option now. Jonathan Kuminga, 14% owned. It's just not hard to envision a scenario where the Warriors need scoring and he's the most logical option to go to if you need scoring. The most likely outcome is that he sucks because he's no good and Steve Kerr also doesn't like him, so he could get just yanked off the court. But a blowout situation, Kuminga's going to be on the court. If the game does get into a spot where the Warriors really need scoring, he could go on the court and he's a good fantasy producer. Like, how many times was Jonathan Kuminga chalk over this year and last year and produced pretty well at like $6,500 salaries? So Jonathan Kuminga is a contrarian value option who I like as a potential pivot off of Post, and there's leverage there as well. I'm going to do a little bit of an ROI boost. I'll lower Post a little bit just to up Kuminga. Every minute Kuminga plays, I presume that probably comes away from Post.
Agreed. What do you think about Looney? I feel like we should get that in there before we have to get out of here. I assume he's sort of just another random wild card to you.
Wild card. I don't think this is a good spot for Looney, though, just because what he brings to the table is probably not what the Warriors need to maximize their odds of winning this game. Like, they need 3-point shooting, they need scoring, and like Looney's none of that. Looney would fit in, like Looney fits in with like the Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson Warriors, where here's a low usage guy who could play defense, rebound, those kinds of things. Like, I don't think this is. You never know, because once again, Steve Kerr's rotations, like weird things do happen from time to time. Maybe Looney comes in and plays really well off the bench, but I don't think the most likely scenario is that this sets up as a Looney game.
It would be really surprising to me if this ended up being a Looney game. The only way it's going to be a Looney game, I think, is if Draymond gets tossed.
Yeah, which is certainly on the table.
Not a 0% outcome in any way. I made a couple tweaks. I gave a negative 5% boost to Post. I gave 5 more to Spencer, and I don't remember, somebody else. So my biggest leverage positively at the flex is Post. He's in 55% of my stuff. I don't have a lot. I'm like half the field ish on Peyton, DiVincenzo, and Pajemski.
By the way, we did do a ownership update since you asked, and Post went up a little bit, but he's 31% now. So it's not like...
Okay. I'm not going to... I will rerun it right now just because we're here. I bumped him to 29% when I ran it, so I feel pretty good about that. Okay. We have 4.5 minutes left. I can probably run this one more time, and it's not going to matter.
Yeah, we have Post for 20 minutes now, which just gives him like such a high projection relative to his salary.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to rerun this right now and let it rip. I have seen the McDaniels question in here a lot. I just don't care. And I don't mean that like I don't care about the question. I just don't care about specifics of Minnesota. Like, yeah, he's fine. Yeah, I probably have something around the field of Jaden McDaniels. He's like a total nothing to me today. I don't think about him. He's just going to be in my shit.
Yeah, I think I'm rerunning with the update, but I didn't notice him being somebody I was well over underweight to the field too. I was, whatever his ownership is, that's right around where I was at him.
I'm barely seeing the exposures to the Minnesota guys because I kind of just expect them to be the guys that show up in and around the field. I mean, I read off the 3 guys I'm most under and most over on. All 4 of those guys were on Golden State. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Actually, DiVincenzo wasn't, but I'm okay with that. That's par for the course. But yeah, like it's just tough to look at Minnesota outside of Ant. And, you know, Randall at the captain, as we talked about, but like the extra dudes on Minnesota, they're all just awesome because there's no threat of playing time unless you're in foul trouble or you're injured. Who does Josh have winning this series? Minnesota. There's no other answer if Steph's hurt.
Yeah. If we knew that Steph is only missing a game or 2, then, you know, like my pick was Golden State going into the series, but that was because I didn't think that Steph Curry's finger injury was going to be all that much of an issue. I didn't know that he was going to pull his hamstring midway through the first game. So the Warriors are up 1-0. One good thing is at least they built up a big enough lead with Steph in the game that they were able to get into a spot where they're up 1-0. If Minnesota wins today and they win game 3 in Golden State and then you get Steph back for game 4, then I think Golden State still is looking, you know, in a okay spot. But, you know, my best guess is that if Steph Curry plays, I don't think he will, but if he does, I think he'll be so far less than 100% that it's an uphill climb for Golden State, even though they're up 1-0 and have a win in Minnesota.
Yeah, it becomes very difficult to go to anybody to go to Golden State and think like they're just going to hold like they're going to get this one. And all of a sudden Steph is so important to everything offensively that I just don't think they have it in them.
Yeah.
which is a shame.
Yeah, even
All right, we
at, I
have
mean, Steph's
90 seconds.
Steph's what? The 10th or so around there, like best player in the league. He's still really, really good. And then also he provides a gravity that can't really be replaced. So like
No.
guys like Jimmy Butler is a more capable 3-point shooter than he's ever been at other points in his career because he's playing with Steph Curry. Like Jimmy Butler never finds himself as wide open as he does at times in these games. Buddy Hield, another one as well. Buddy Hield has had some, and I know that Buddy Hield played pretty well without Steph last game as well, but so many of the good 3-point shooting games from Buddy Hield come because he's wide open because of the attention that Steph Curry gets. Everybody's worse on the Warriors as a result of Steph not being on the court. And I was telling you, I was looking at some of the on-off court data for the Warriors, and it's very rare a player like Steph Curry's out and almost the entire team is worse from a fantasy standpoint per 36 minutes without him. Efficiency goes down, pace of play goes down because they play slower without Steph as well. I wish that was more actionable on a 1-game slate, but it just isn't because like you have to play guys from this team. If this was a 2-game slate, I'd probably be underweight to the field from guys from Golden State just because I think the absence of Steph Curry isn't as beneficial to other guys' fantasy productions as it normally would be. But we have to play these guys anyway today, so it doesn't matter.
All righty, everybody. We have 10 seconds to go until lock. So get your lineups in right now, or they're not going to get in time. That's it. We're here. We got to go watch Golden State and Minnesota. Greg and I are not going to be on playback tonight, but we are going to put the game on for everybody on playback. So if you want to hop over there, link is in the chat, playback.tv/Stokastic. Greg, anything else before we do?
Game's already on over there. Looks like the national anthem is being sung. I'm going to be watching Hurricanes Capitals, which I've already been watching a little bit on my one of my screens here as we've been doing this show. 1-0 Capitals, but Hurricanes on the power play right now. So yeah, guys, enjoy the games. Good luck, and Josh, enjoy your anniversary. We'll see you back here on Monday.
I'll be here tomorrow morning for a strategy show. Don't worry, everybody. But live before lock, I won't be around. I got to go celebrate the fact that I've been married for 11 years. So thank you, Greg. And thanks to everybody here. Good luck, everybody. We'll talk to you later.